Happy Manliness Monday. This week, I'd like to do something a little bit different. I want to start a series within Manliness Monday about talking about different aspects of manliness in pop culture and in history. This month, I want to do Chivalry, Game of Thrones edition. Spoiler alert. Leave now if you don't want to be spoiled. Chivalry is something that happens after the battle is won. Whether you're a history buff or a Game of Thrones nerd, I fall into both categories. This is a lesson that you will find echoed on and on. Lord Ned Stark has typified nobility and chivalry in the Game of Thrones series. And we hear about this over and over, about how he is the pinnacle of nobility and chivalrous behavior. He is very fair, very wise, very caring. You know the whole story. And we hear it talked about over and over from season to season, and through his children, from strangers. Even how he raised his kids. He tried to teach them to be noble and chivalrous in and out of battle. However, as he grew older, he began to believe that own mythos about himself. And that in turn led to his death. When Bran became the Three-Eyed Raven, he first saw his dad fight in a duel he had heard about hundreds of times. The reality of it, though, once he saw it through the eyes of the Three-Eyed Raven, was that the only chance his dad had to live was somebody had to backstab the Morning Star. Or the Morning Sun, I forget the guy's name. And that never made it into the stories about how his father was a legendary swordsman, he was the best around, and that guy conveniently got left out talking about how noble it is to fight and how honorable it is to fight. In a later episode in Season 6, Season 6, Episode 5, the Three-Eyed Raven comes across his grandfather talking to a young Ned Stark. And I have this quote written down here so I don't mess it up, because it really is powerful. When he's talking to his father, Lord Stark says, "Remember that you are a Stark. Comport yourself with the dignity of the Vale and try to stay out of a fight. But if you have to fight, win." That's chivalry right there. That is the essence of all chivalry put together. Stay out of the fight if you can. Comport yourself as a gentleman. Compose yourself. But if you have to fight, win. Doesn't matter how nice of a person you are outside of a fight. If you get killed in a fight, no one cares. You lost. You're dead. Now, I realize I'm talking about the Starks a lot in this episode, but throughout the series, they kind of have their name thrown around a lot when it comes to honor, nobility, and chivalry. And as many instances as I've given, and as much as I've talked about it, there's even more littered throughout the series about the Starks. But I don't think we have to go into every single detail about it. You guys get the general idea. However, the Starks weren't the only ones that had this philosophy. Cersei Lannister and Arya Stark win in a way that would make Niccolo Machiavelli, well, blush, really. But they don't really have chivalrous behavior outside of a fight. Well, Arya does, to an extent. Cersei, she starts out that way, but as the series goes on, from season to season, no. And that's one of her biggest downfalls. While chivalry has no place on the battlefield, win-at-all-cost measures are very poor taste, as Walter Frey finds out, and the rest of his clan, in the Season 6 finale and the premiere to Season 7. There's only one character that really embodies both sides of the battle and chivalry coin so far that I've seen, as best as can be in the Game of Thrones series, and that is Daenerys Targaryen. Feel free to dispute me in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. It's great to talk about Game of Thrones. It's a lot of fun, but we need to be able to tie that back into our own culture and our own history if we are to take the full measure of these lessons. And if you look throughout history, there has always been a code of conduct for the warrior classes, such as knights. For knights, it was chivalry. And it's a code on how to act when you're not on the battlefield. I know the Japanese samurai had one. I forget what it is, and I really should have looked that up. But it's I believe it's Shintoism, and I could be wrong. Please correct me in the comment section below as to what that is. But what that does is it tells you how you should act, and it allows you to differentiate yourself and dismiss yourself from what you do on the battlefield. And it provides a very good coping mechanism for those warriors. Because if you look throughout history, everything that you've ever seen about knights is a lie. They weren't these honorable gentlemen who went into battle following the codes of chivalry to a T. They were brutes. They were well-paid soldiers with very good armaments, and they killed people, burned villages. It wasn't always just it wasn't battles all the time. They were terrible things that a lot of them did. And we glorify it today, and we try and squash out the bad, nasty, and icky parts. And when I was much younger, I studied the samurai, and they're much the same way. And I believe if you look throughout history, all warrior cultures are like that. All warrior classes are like that. But a lot of knights, and I from what I remember, a lot of samurai were lords. So they weren't just warriors only. If they were, I don't think chivalry ever would have become a thing. Because if you're only set in that battle mentality, you cannot rule a people. Your brutality will bleed over from the battlefield into your regular life. And has terrible consequences for everyone involved. And to bring that home a little bit, if you look at the Game of Thrones series, you can see how that happens. So YouTube, what did you think? I hope to do this once a month, and I think it could be a very fun thing to do. I know I had a lot of fun going through all the episodes of Game of Thrones and looking up different instances and references just to write that little script. I know you saw me peek at it about a dozen times. I need to get better at memorizing things, or get like a little projector or something above me. But, you know, it's not just me talking off the cuff this time. And it was a lot of fun to write the script. It was also a ton of fun to binge watch Game of Thrones for no particular reason. I also wanted to binge watch because the new season just came out, and like I said in the beginning, I'm a huge Game of Thrones nerd. I'm an absolute nut for it. But anyways, I think it'll be fun to look through pop culture and media and different movies. I know I did this once with Beauty and the Beast, and I didn't think it would be something I would do again, so I never wanted to incorporate it into a series. But I hope this is something you guys enjoyed, because I totally enjoyed doing it. Now, as much as I would love to encourage you to read Le Mort d'Arthur, The Death of Arthur, you also have to read that poetic work with a grain of salt, like I was explaining. People tend to glorify the chivalry part and forget the win in the battlefield first part. If you're in a fight for your life, you do what you have to win, period. And then you worry about the consequences later. You can't worry about the consequences if you're dead. And that's just the plain, simple, and awful truth of life. And there are many other ways and instances that can be talked about in another episode. I want to do a dive on I would like to do a dive into the life and history of Niccolo Machiavelli and his book, Prince or something, or Four Princes. I forget what it is. It's terrible. But like I said, that's for another time. So please let me know what you thought, and please feel free to correct any mistakes I have and leave all your comments and stuff in the section below. I'd love to do this for you guys, so if you can, give me the encouragement to do it again. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If this is your first time here, I do a Manliness Monday every Monday, where I talk about things on how to be a gentleman, beard care, and just different topics relating to manhood and masculinity. And every Friday I do a project video. It varies from what I do week to week. It's mainly woodworking, but I like to switch it up and do all sorts of different things. So if any of this interests you, please hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you guys back. And remember, winter has come.